George Hegel, who lived between 1770 and 1831, too responded to Kant. Hegel had two problems with Kant. First, Kant argued that we humans only understand the phenomena, but we have no access to noumena, or the thing in itself. We can touch a rock, but we cannot fully understand it. For Hegel, this noumena world, which we can never fully know, looked like an empty abstraction, pure speculation based on Kant's own assumption. In other words, he just made it up by claiming that such a thing existed in the first place. Hegel's second problem with Kant was that he argued that our innate structure or categorization by which we interpret the world is fixed. In other words, we use a fish net or a framework by which we catch a fish or experience, but the net or the framework is always fixed and nobody can change it. For the history buff Hegel, everything, including human consciousness, was subject to change through time. History has shown us that humans evolve, so do our tools, including the fishnet or our ability to reason. In other words, everything has a history, even rock has a history, it changes through time. And humans are very much a product of a historical era. How do we change? Hegel says through dialectic processes. When two opposites collide, it makes a third thing that has a bit of both the original things, but it also has slightly different characters. Hegel says every phenomena or idea or thesis, as he called it, contains a contradiction within itself, which he called antithesis. And this conflict, which is resolved in synthesis, or a new idea which is an improvement or different from the thesis and antithesis. Like a child has a characteristic of both parents but also different from both. This historical process continues in generating new theses and antitheses, which lead to further synthesis, and history continues. So according to Hegel, Kant was wrong in saying that human mental structure or reason does not change. For Hegel, everything is subject to change. It's important to note that Kant was a lot firmer in his religious belief than Hegel, which explains that Kant sees reason as static while Hegel sees it as malleable and changeable through time. Another reason is, of course, the French Revolution, as well as the rise of Napoleon, which for the very first time in human history, ordinary people took power from the king and anyone could become Napoleon. So nothing was fixed. Kant, being a much older man, was furiously against any kind of revolution that could destabilize the status quo. For Hegel, the world has a history and we are for the most part the product of historical era. In other words, reality is a historical process, not constant. However, since we are the product of history, we can also affect the course of history through ideas that capture the spirit of an age. For example, Napoleon managed to influence history as he captured the spirit of 19th century Europe. People didn't believe in the absolute power of kings, so demanded change. Hegel can be characterized as a perfectionist rationalist, believing that history is moving towards perfection. Now, Hegel only interpreted history. His student wanted to change history.